Hey y'all, it's Lucy again for day number 4 of the Whimsical Fairy House Challenge. And today we're going to be doing shamrocks and clovers. Yesterday we decorated the house with just simple flowers. And today, shamrocks and clovers. I made a house with 4-leaf clovers a few years ago. I call it the leprechaun house. So it's not really a fairy house, but anyway, that was kind of the inspiration for what I did today. So I'll put a link in the comments or in the description for the leprechaun house, but it's bigger and it's actually more like a dollhouse. So anyway, that was kind of the inspiration. So I did something similar. I made kind of a miniature version for our fairy house. So this one has shamrocks on it, not 4-leaf clovers, shamrocks, and I kind of painted the stone. And I'll talk about that when we get into the tutorial part. This one has 4-leaf clovers on it. This is one of the circular houses with the removable top, and it's covered with 4-leaf clovers. I used stain for these. I used Tim Holtz Distress Stain called the shades Mowed Lawn, and I used the same stain for this shamrock one. And here's another, I lost a lid. Here is a simpler version. This is a shamrock version, a circular one with cardstock where the bark pattern is drawn on, and then I used cardstock, so I didn't stain that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start the tutorial, but I'm not going to talk about Cricut Design Space for this particular project because we did it yesterday. You cut out the shamrocks and or the clovers the same way. There's nothing specific that you have to do. You don't have any score lines or anything. There is a base pattern on the shamrock and clover pattern, and it is large, so you can cut out 2 pieces from an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock or cardboard. I like cardboard, and I do multiple layers and glue them together, partly because like when I knock stuff off, it's not as likely to get damaged. But anyway, I hope you will join us for the shamrocks and clovers to decorate your little house. And I really like this one in particular, the one that I painted with stone. I think it's just really fun. So the materials are the same as the previous days, whatever structure you're using for your house, and then either watercolor paper or cardstock for the decorative elements. Okay, let's get started. All right, so for day 4, we're going to do a little cottage, but it's going to be a shamrock cottage. I'm using the cottage base, but I've also got another variation I'll show you in a minute. But this was kind of one of my original inspirations. This is the leprechaun house, and it's kind of cool. I'll put a link to it in the video, but it's kind of like a dollhouse. I just think it's fun. I made the wallpaper for it, and there's some wood grain for the base, for the floor. I made what is this? A cauldron, and then I just used a paper punch and made some little gold coins. But so anyway, that's the leprechaun house, and it was sort of the inspiration for this cottage, the shamrock cottage. But first I wanted to do a stone surface. I really like mimicking stone, but I didn't want to take the time to stencil it. There are some stencils on my website, so I'm going to try to paint it. We'll see how it goes. I used and I'm picking a brush that's about the width of what I want the stones to be. I'm just going to try to paint kind of stone shapes. Oh, and I think you can see I used some sand in the primer before I did what I call the mortar color. You want the stones to be different sizes and shapes, like real stones. And even when I stencil, I usually paint them, so I'm hoping this will be faster. No guarantees, though. I should have started at the top or on the back where I know, where I kind of improve my skills. Sometimes I don't know why I do things the way I do. I think I'm going to get a different brush. This one's too mushy, it's too soft. This one's smaller, but firmer. Yeah, it lets me lay down paint better. I keep painting them in the shape of South Carolina. Try to make it look. Let's do a North Carolina. And I'll see how it looks. I'm not sure I like it, but we'll see in a minute. Here's one of the circular houses with 4-leaf clovers on it. And I used a spray stain called Mowed Lawn to make the turn them to this green. I just love this green. And I used paper mache. It actually wasn't my best work, but to mimic bark. And the door is in your files. It wasn't originally, or rather, I added more door options. They're in the files now for fairy houses. And these are the windows. And I just used a circular base for this one. So this is the 4-leaf clover house. And I'm going to make shamrocks with this one. So I'm using a shamrock shaped base. And I painted it, but I actually don't like that shade. And this green matches the shamrock, so I'm just going to glue this on top. My shamrock's not perfectly symmetrical, so you have to kind of match it up. Like here's kind of like the fat bottom side. Okay, let's figure out where we want it to go. Do we want it a little more in the back? I actually like it like this, with the 2 leaves going this way. And I need to find the door. The door, there's a larger space in the middle. That's where the door goes, or is supposed to go. So I'm going to glue this in place. And remember, the windows are not in the middle. They're kind of to the lower side. Wait, let me find my door. Okay, apply there. Let the base dry. So this will be the front. Let the base dry. And I think we can go ahead and add some shamrocks to the top. Now, I like to make dimensions, so I'm just going to kind of fold each leaf in half a little bit, because shamrocks have a line down the middle of each leaflet. So let's just do that, just kind of roughly. Okay, and yesterday I realized they actually go on better if you apply the glue to the roof and then just a little bit of pressure. I'm going to slide it down a little bit so it doesn't interfere with the handle. So I did a few with stems and a few without. Let me get some smaller ones. I'm going to try to use the smaller ones at the top, or more of the smaller ones. I think they're just 2 sizes of shamrocks and clovers. So the shamrocks and the 4-leaf clovers are in the same file. The base is about 5 inches wide, so you can cut 2 pieces from one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock or cardboard. And I do like the idea of doing cardboard at the base of the houses, but you can do like 4 layers of cardstock, or a few layers of cardstock. I use 4 layers for the cardboard. These are pretty lightweight, so they're sticking easily. And after I finish this one, I'm going to show you just a little bit about doing the fairy cottage, the one I painted with stone surface, and I've stained those shamrocks, so I really like it. I hope you're having fun with the Fairy House Challenge. I just thought, a lot of people make fairy houses, but most often they're out of polymer clay, and I just, I love paper, so I just thought, let's just do a series of paper fairy houses, rather. So the whole idea, well, not the whole idea, but part of the idea was to do fairy houses kind of for any season. So we did just kind of a generic flower yesterday in the previous video. And today we got shamrocks. Tomorrow, violets. Violets are kind of springy. I love violets. And these are pretty simple violets. Jackie, when you see, Jackie collaborated with me on the fairy house project, and her, you should see what she did with her flowers. They're beautiful. There we go. Now here is the house. Let's see, let me turn it around. I think it's glued down enough. There, you can see. Now I've got a door. I painted this door, see, because it's supposed to be green inside. So I have to find my green. I've got one for it, but let's go ahead and do the windows since I can't find that. So I'm going to apply glue around the window, put on our shamrock. For this house, the circular house, there are 4 windows. The hexagon house, I think, has 5. It's got 6 holes. One's for the door, and the cottage, I believe, has 4. I like this. Okay, let's glue some. I'm going to do the windows in a minute. Let's glue some little, I don't know that these shamrocks are going to show up very well at the base because I used the same color. I didn't use a contrasting color. I didn't really think about that. See, on the 4-leaf clover one, I used a lighter green, a very light green. So that might have been a better plan. It still looks okay. Wonder if I could just glue a little shamrock behind the door. See, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And because this house is curved, I need to curve the door a little bit. So that is the cone-shaped, the one with the cone-shaped roof. I like it. I'll add the yellow windows when actually, I think I can do them now. I was going to say when the windows are dry, but I'm going to do it now. See, it looks very St. Patrick's Day, doesn't it? It's done. That's one version of the Shamrock House. I'm going to let that one dry, and now I'm going to work on the fairy cottage with the stone surface. So here is the fairy cottage that I painted to mimic stone, and it's not like my greatest work. Sometimes I can actually make it really look like stone, but it's pretty good. Chimney's on. And the roof is on. That's important. Got the nice curve. Wait, let me see. It looks pretty good. And it'll look really good once we get like the windows and doors. Let me show you how the door is supposed to work. It's supposed to have a green piece behind. Add some more glue to the back. It's a little bit harder to glue just because I've got that textured surface. Remember, I primed it with paint that had sand in it, but I think it looks good. Okay, so the same thing for these particular windows. If you want to use these windows, it's got a background piece to make the little shamrock cutouts show up. And I think this window works especially well on the fairy cottage rather than the circular one. I really like it for this. Start off there. Go ahead and add that one, so maybe it'll get a little bit tacky. And let's do a circle around here. Okay, the other one. think the fairies are going to like this house. And now we're going to decorate the roof. And I was thinking about it for this house. I really think I'm going to use the smaller shamrocks. I think they fit on this roof surface better. The other surface can handle, bigger leaves, but this one needs smaller leaves. I stained this with Mowed Lawn Distress stain. And even though I actually wore gloves this time, but it didn't matter. I managed to get it all on my fingers anyway. That's pretty standard for me. See, these windows would have worked as well, but I like these better for this particular house. And I just almost pulled the chimney off. There. I like that half. Now we'll do the next side. I'll show you in a minute. Almost done with the second side of the roof, the other side of the roof rather. I think that's my favorite of the fairy houses we've done so far. I really like it. It worked out much better than I expected. I wasn't sure about my painting the stones, but I think they look good. They're not, like I said, it's not my best work, but it looks like a little stone cottage, a little fairy cottage. Okay, next I'm going to glue it to the base. And after my last fairy house where there's no contrast between the green and the shamrock base, I went and painted over this and made it lighter. So I think I'm going to angle it just a bit, just for interest's sake, kind of like this is the path to the door. But I'm going to wait until the shamrocks are dry on the roof so that when I press down I won't be like shifting all these shamrocks. So I'm going to let them dry and I'll let you see when I'm done. Now that we've finished our shamrock or clover house, I hope you will join me tomorrow. We're going to do violets. Violets, just kind of a springtime flower. I think it'll be fun. And I hope you'll be making some of these. I'd really love to see what you make. So again, I'm Lucy, paperglitterglue.com, and let's have fun making little fairy houses, little paper fairy houses. Alrighty.